And I'd say at the conference, 80% of the conversations I had were all around analytics. And it was because generally they're business owners. They got skin in the game. They want to know what's working and what's not. I had a really good conversation with a gentleman who runs like a landscaping business. And he's like, first thing he says, like, it needs to have, like, do you have analytics or the ability to integrate with something that has analytics? So I said, yeah, we've got our own analytics. And he started talking about, I want to know conversion rates. I want to know marketing sources. And I said, yep, we can do all that. And he was sort of blown away. So I think that was the biggest surprise was we kind of went away from it with our marketing around the analytics piece because we just found every time we tried to sell it as like a differentiator, it wasn't really working. But I think the surprise coming out of the conference was these business owners and these small businesses where, you know, it's a competitive market. I think they're now realizing that data is needed to drive their decisions and drive, you know, their competitive advantage. So that was definitely a key theme for me yesterday with the conversation I had.
We're all part of this whole money game. This all.
Welcome back to another episode of Beers in Business. I'm Abe Dearmer, CEO of Assembler.
I'm Andrew Martin, CEO of Teamgate CRM. We've got Chase,
Head of Sales, US, Teamgate CRM.
There you go. And we're calling in
Andrew
from Texas.
and Chase are in Texas.
We are.
Yes, sir.
These bags under my eyes are not from, I wasn't stung by a bee. I'm tired.
That's that jet lag, mate.
17-hour, 15-hour difference that Andrew's dealing with right now.
And I think the first long-haul flight, I haven't slept a single minute. So that was fun.
How come, mate? What happened?
I had two toddlers in front of me who had a very high-pitched scream anytime they had an argument, which I'm kind of used to from my own kids, but this scream was pretty constant. And then a 4-month-old baby.
Not yours.
Yeah, and then a 4-month-old baby directly behind us. So they kind of tag teamed for 16 hours. When one was screaming, the other was quiet, and when one was quiet, the other was crying. So unfortunately, I didn't get much sleep.
Nice.
But
well, that's good.
Push through.
Lucky you don't have kids over there in Texas, mate. So
yeah, no kids, just Chase.
Just Chase to look after.
I don't.
What are you drinking today? What'd you pick up from a Texas brew house, eh? Actually, let's go through before we kick off into beers, right? Let's talk about what we're going to do today. So Andrew and Chase are in Texas and they're there for a conference. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about, while it's fresh in Andrew's mind and while we got Chase there readily available, we're going to talk about the conference. So we're going to talk about the lead up, how the actual conduct of the conference went, and any follow-ups that they've done so far, or what the plan is for follow-ups after that. So we'll do our weekly wrap, but we're going to actually skip the learning of the week because this is all about Andrew and Chase's learning of the week. So let's talk about the beers. What do you got from Texas there, boys? What do we got? I'm surprised you didn't join with big 10-gallon hats or something. You really let me down.
Yeah. Maybe the next podcast, I think I've got some fancy clothes coming that I might be wearing. But we have both got beers from Zilker Brewing Company. So we went out on Tuesday night. We actually popped across there. It's directly opposite our hotel, and pretty cool beer garden, a lot of in-house made beers. And we went out that night, and a couple of the bartenders we spoke to were like, oh, you got to go check out Zilker. And we're like, oh, we already have. So we're actually going to do the podcast from the brewery, but I thought it might be a bit noisy over there. It gets pretty packed. It's been packed the last few nights and afternoons. So we just went and bought some takeaways. So I am drinking the Mexican lager. As we all know, I like the lager. And what do you got, Chase?
Yeah, and this obviously this California boy loves a good hazy IPA, so I am drinking the Doom and Bloom Hazy IPA from Zilker.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I got myself a little treat.
Don't have the number of standard drinks on here, so it just says 5%. So.
Yeah, it's just a guess.
5%. That's all right. For reference, this is Andrew. For reference, this is 6%. And it's 1.8 standard drinks. Nice. So
what's yours?
Just do the calculations, mate. Let me know the math.
Hazy's a little stronger, 6.8. So I'm starting the day off here at 1:15 p.m.
Starting strong.
We're off to some. I think we're off to Terry Black's barbecue this afternoon for dinner with one of our customers, and then we're heading to Topgolf with the same customers. So it should be a good night.
Nice. What's What's the Terry Black barbecue? What's that famous for?
It's probably the most famous barbecue in Texas.
What did he say to you yesterday about it?
He said, so I spoke to a couple of guys through our other Slack network that you're a part of as well. One of them lived in Austin for 30 years, and he said Terry Black's is the legit barbecue. Like anywhere else is a gimmick.
Yeah.
Like you want to go to Terry Black's. I think it's the one. I don't know if anyone's watched the Gordon Ramsay TV series. It's him and two other chefs traveling through around the world, and they go to a barbecue place in Texas, and he's like blown away by this food, and that's Terry Black's. So that's where we're going.
Well, there you go.
So
Get some Terry Black's barbecue. That sounds good. I'm excited. A bit of top golf,
so.
Andrew. Hopefully you're able to do a little bit better than last time we played top golf together. From memory, in Las Vegas, you actually sucked at top golf.
No, that's not true. And
what do you mean? When I
true.
figured out how to actually play top golf.
When you used one of my shots to win by 1 point, I remember. We all remember.
Nah, didn't happen. Didn't happen, mate. All I remember is you trying to hit the back fence every single time,
which I did. Which
is not the aim of top golf.
Yeah. Well, and for all the viewers, I'm actually kind of a small guy. We're sitting down right now, so I have the advantage. But both Abe and Andrew are very large and very in charge. So all they need to do is make just good contact, and it will go a mile and a half. I have to rely on decent form to be able to get anything as far as Andrew can get it. But we'll see tonight. I'm
some form of skill.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm good. We're talking about golf.
Just remember, Chase, it's not about how far you hit it. It's about actually hitting the bullseyes on the top golf.
You know, I think that's my quote of the week already.
It's not at all.
All right, let's get into those quotes, though, eh? Because Andrew's got some washing to do. I think he's out of jocks or something like that.
I need to get some new undies. Been eating a lot of Mexican food.
I don't know. I don't want to know why. I don't want to know why. Chipotle yesterday did a number on him.
Let's go. What do you got for us, Abe?
All right, so quote of the week. So just to keep on our theme of really riding the Elon Musk train, I thought I'd lead with one of his quotes, which I think is quite good, which is, I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. So leading in from last week, how we're talking about all the different things that he's done and ventures that he's done as far as Elon Musk, and how he just saw a problem and tried to fix it. It just shows like perpetual optimism, right? And another quote that I can throw out there is, perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. And that's by Colin Powell, right? So just having a positive attitude can mean so much more than anything else. And what I think with that is that in business as well, when we go to test things or we want to look at new markets or we want to try things out, go in with a sense of optimism instead of a sense of pessimist, like viewpoint of like, oh, this isn't going to work, or I don't know if this is going to have, just go in there with like, yeah, we're going to do this and it's going to be awesome, it's going to be great, it's going to result in this. It's going to go in there with optimistic viewpoint towards it's going to work, as opposed to it probably isn't going to work, and going in with a downer attitude towards it. So I think that's really important when you go in to do testing, is to maintain that positive outlook towards it all.
Nice. And as we all know, I'm very positive, so I agree with that quote of the week from you.
No pessimism at all.
Mine is Creativity is Contagious, Pass It On by Albert Einstein. And I guess just tying in with, obviously we went to the conference yesterday. Our Teamgate's pretty well based on passing on our knowledge and helping our customers. So I think that was one of the key themes during our conversations with the people attending the conference is, some people came to us with needs that weren't a match. Through having a conversation, we still spent 5 minutes with them and gave them some recommendations for other tools that might solve those problems. So, and just by having those conversations in earshot of other prospects, they straight away came over and were like, wow, these guys are actually authentic. They're not just trying to sell people up the road. So, that's my quote of the week.
Yeah, nice. I like that. And as we all know with gap selling, right, if there's no gap or if there's no problem that you can solve, then just pass on it. Like, there's no point trying to sell them, because everyone's going to be unhappy then. As you're trying to keep the customer or talk with the customer, they're going to be angry with you, and it just goes in this whole roundabout of a bad time for everyone, essentially, is it. So I think that's a really good way to approach things.
What do you got, Chase?
And I've got a quote, a fairly older one compared to the Elon and Albert. Epictetus once said, "It's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. And, I think especially in the professional world, there's a pressure to know everything. And with that, the connotation comes into play that, you're less than if you don't know something. So just coming into something that you aren't really confident in your knowledge in with an open curiosity can open a lot more doors than pretending or feigning interest or feigning knowledge in something.
Yeah, nice. I like that. That's good. Trust you, Chase. As you mentioned before, you're adopting the brains over brawn capacity here, like you will in Top Golf, and ultimately, I'm sure you'll come out victorious there.
Yeah,
But
circle with that.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. That's good. I think often we do find that the people who are most successful keep an open mind through most things that they do and get feedback from people as they move forward. I think you become very short-sighted when you go into something thinking that you know it all, and it often doesn't end very well for people in that regard.
And look at all the successful people in the world. They're all generally career learners. Like, they're continually trying to develop their skills, their knowledge. They're not going to have that attitude if they're also know-it-alls, right? So,
and they generally adopt the philosophy to surround themselves with people that are smarter than them, right? And with that is just the underlying, fact that this quote is trying to get at, where you accepting something that you don't know and surrounding yourself with people that do know a little bit more than you do, and being open to that knowledge is really important.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why you go into the best barbecue place in Texas. Go to someone who knows. All right, let's switch gears, and I'm just going to be interrogating Andrew and Chase for this podcast, which is going to be fantastic. So the way we're going to sort of structure this is look at what happened beforehand when we look at the conference, what happened during the conference, which we'll probably spend the most amount of time on, and then just talk about some of the follow-up things that happen as a part of that as well. So breaking it down into those 3 rough stages just to take a look at. For anyone who's planning on attending conferences or anything like that, it's always great to talk to people, as Chase's quote says there is, let's talk to people who have done it before and see what they learnt and see what we can pull out of that. Because I think conferences will continue to be a big part of everything that people do in business. And I still think they're an important point to get the brand out there in a personal touch and allow you to truly display what your brand is about, such as, Andrew going and Chase as well, talking to those people and saying like, hey, we can't help you, but here's how you could possibly do it. That person's going to remember that interaction. Is probably going to remember Teamgate more from that interaction than anything else. So I think that's like a really important piece. Kids, don't keep it down, Andrew. All right, so let's talk about the lead up, right? Maybe a good place to start is, what conference did you attend? And you got, 2 conferences, right? So talk me through the conferences that you're attending and why.
Yeah, so the conference that we attended yesterday and the upcoming conference is the Small Business Expo in the US. It's the largest traveling small business expo in America. So they travel each city throughout the entire year. So, this week they're obviously in Austin, which is where we attended. Next week they're in Dallas, and prior to that they were in Houston as well. So, but they've been through the entire US throughout the year, and they continue to travel. There's some big ones. The biggest ones in New York, obviously the Bay Area and things like that. The reason we chose this is we probably learnt from the one we attended earlier in the year. Was it earlier in the year or last year? In the Bay Area, where it was very startup specific. So we went there with the intent of learning if conferences were a potential channel for us. And we got there and soon realized that we probably missed the ICP completely. It was very startup focused, pre-funding focused. All the customers there were there to try.
They had no money.
Funding. Yeah, they were there to try and get funding. So, it wasn't really a place where you'd want to exhibit, and we didn't exhibit. We just attended to see if we could learn anything from it. So we sort of went back, looked at our customer base, looked what has been working for us this year, and that was definitely the small businesses, and that tied into these expos. And we thought, let's actually exhibit and go and put our product in front of people. We know when people see our product, generally they're quite impressed. The difficulty we have is getting the product in front of people. So we thought, what better way to do that than get them face to face at an expo where we can show them the product, show them what we have to offer, and see if we can convert them.
Yeah, nice. And choosing a conference to attend, right? Because conferences, they don't come cheap. There's a certain amount of cost that comes with them: flights, accommodation, time spent. How did you come about picking the biggest traveling small business expo in the US as the conference that you wanted to focus on?
I think we were trying to get the best bang for our buck. So noting that Chase is already in the US, there's expos in Australia, but for me, I still think Australia's a little bit behind the times in regards to tech. So it'll be more around education and teaching people what CRM is than trying to sell them. So we definitely thought the US is the place to be. That's where we're doing our big push at the moment is US expansions. I wanted to try to hit as many conferences as we could in a small period because of the cost of me traveling to the US. So when we looked at the time period...
Mainly cost of your relationship.
Yeah, my wife not being happy with me being away for months. So yeah, the cost of me to come across, obviously Chase is already in the US and we wanted to see what we could do and the time period we had available. And, we had different busy periods through the year. We knew we would have some time towards the end of the year when we usually have a quieter period. So we looked in sort of October, November, December, and we found that, the Austin and Dallas conferences were very close together. So we could get two done in just over a week. So that's why we chose these two. And I think if we have success at these two, then we'll potentially look at doing some more next year in different locations, potentially the New York one. Also, I think Texas.
Yeah, nice.
Texas they love Aussies. If you've got a different accent, they seem to engage a little bit more. And I think, the Bay Area, probably not the best fit for an Aussie that likes to be pretty blunt and can swear and the things like that. Texas, probably a little bit more aligned.
We'll leave that at that. But yeah, completely agree there, right? I think that Texas is probably more aligned to Australia than a lot of the other states in the US. But I think it's really cool to sort of consider that, like, hey, if this went well, where else could we branch out to? Or maybe, you get enough ROI from Texas, you think, why not just come back? So, that's another piece as well. But I think it's really cool that you sort of consider that they have conferences close together. It's the same vendor, so I guess it makes it easy to deal with, easy to get things set up. You know what to expect the second time instead of having that all come together. But I think, did you consider the option of like any other conferences or trying to fit in another conference in between the two while the expo traveled?
Yeah, I think we did some research and we came back with a bunch of conferences that were on throughout the year. A lot of them were, spread out or, the massive conferences across multiple days, like the SASTAs and things like that. But who else is going to be at a SASTA, right? All of the big name competitors. We probably don't want to be in that situation. We probably want to be targeting small business, and a lot of those other conferences weren't targeting small business. They were targeting, themselves. It was like, this is who's going to be at SASTA. You come to us. Whereas the small business conference was like, this is tailored to help small businesses, and that's how we went into it. We were pitching that, hey, we're here to help you. We want to get in front of you before you get to those big name CRMs and you get stuck and waste all this financial money and sort of hamstring yourselves. So yeah, that's why I went with these guys.
And Chase, as you are the cultural guide for Andrew in the US, did you play a pretty big part in selecting what conference was to attend? Did you have any knowledge of the Small Business Expo beforehand, or was this completely new to you as well?
Yeah, no, the Small Business Expo is completely new to me. Really, the only thing to kind of echoes Andrew's point about the startup conference that we did earlier this year, we were a bit premature in pitching solutions to them because they were really just finding funding to then go out and purchase solutions with. So finding that balance between still targeting startups, but not in the late stage, because we're really just trying to find people before they get in bed with the large names and financially handicap themselves with, all of the costs that are associated with customizing those solutions.
It's a good way to put it there.
Yeah.
Financially and what temporally handicap themselves, right? Time.
Yeah. Yeah. So really just kind of trying to find one conference that targeted small businesses that were one step downstream of, the learnings that we took from the startup conference earlier this year.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I think it's great to. I guess you got to sort of figure out with that ICP, where the best conferences will be and who's attending and things like that. And I don't think it happens straight away. And I think it's a good thing that you're able to realize that those big startup conferences probably aren't it. And so you went through this process, you attended a conference, realized, hey, this isn't for us. Let's try the small business one. Chose a traveling expo because it had some close together. You decided on that and you said, okay, let's move forward. So once you decided on the conference, what did you shift into gear then? Was there, did you do like planning serials? How did you figure out about, all right, how are we going to attack the conference? Did you develop a checklist? Did you do some research? What happened there?
Well, I think before Andrew gets started, one thing was the location. And because it's a traveling conference that goes all around the world, naturally it's going to stop in places with a high population of businesses in their early stage. And really, for me, that's kind of where my cultural knowledge came into play. I think we were looking at San Diego for a short bit because that is a huge entrepreneurial hub right now. But I think when you look at cities that are growing as fast as Austin is, with so much opportunity, not just population, it really was just kind of a no-brainer for us to target Austin along this, kind of event lineup that they have. But I'll let Andrew speak to the other part of that answer.
Yeah, so I think once we sort of nailed down the location, I wouldn't say we did formal planning, like meetups. At the end of the day, it was just Chase and I coming. So Chase and I were doing a lot of Zoom calls where we'd go through and sort of plan what we wanted it, conceptualize what we wanted it to look like. And that included things like activities, games. How are we going to bring people into our booth? How are we going to engage them? What's going to be the pitch? What are going to be some of the key questions that we ask them to fuel those conversations? So, yeah, it was more around what do we want the conference to look like. We went into some marketing planning around, what messaging do we want to send? So obviously we had materials for our booth with, big banners and things like that. Like, what do we want our tagline to be? I think, we looked at our most successful taglines on our website through the year and sort of narrowed it down to those and worked out, okay, well, does this message resonate with small business? And I think our most successful tagline on our website was around Capterra's number one value for money CRM. But we actually decided to go for Salesforce. We put, CRM without the Salesforce price tag. And I don't know about Chase, but I think that was probably one of the best decisions we made because that created so much conversation. People came up to us just to say, we hate Salesforce, like literally. And then that would start a conversation around, oh, well, who do you use?
Perfect.
And then they were in. So, yeah, in regards to planning, we obviously did some material planning. We looked at what do we want to actually have there to engage the prospects or the attendees, like whether it's games, how do we stand out? Because a lot of other booths, we've all been to conferences before. Generally, they're pretty generic, or they've got the same sort of wheel spinning, spin a wheel for a prize, which I think every single booth had yesterday.
Oh, really? That's
we wanted
hilarious.
to stand out. We wanted to stand out, and we didn't want to just have crap merchandise that we could hand out that no one's going to use. They're just going to throw out as soon as they walk outside. So we went through some planning for social proofing, QR codes, how we would get the best ROI back from the spend of the conference. So we took the learnings from the startup conference. I think we end up looking at a product that they got us with a big discount to sign up for an annual plan, and we thought, why not do that? If we can get some ROI by getting people to sign up to an annual plan, we've got 12 months to prove ourselves to them and gain that stickiness and keep them on board post 12 months. So if we can offer them 40% discount up front to take that risk with us, then we'll get the ROI back for the conference, and we also get an opportunity to become sticky within 12 months. So that's some of the things we did. And we can talk more about what that actually looked like as we go through the podcast and what we actually did to stand out.
Yeah, that's really interesting, right? Is thinking about how to make your booth stand out from other ones, and trying to break the norm. I think is a really pattern breaking, right? You walk past a whole heap with spinning wheels. Of course, it's just going to look like white noise. It's like Google ads, display ads that you see all the time now. They're all the same. None of them catch your eye. You just scroll past them. You don't even know they're there. Same sort of thing with the booths. You've got to figure out how you stand out in that regard. And then when you start doing all that planning, you look at your tag that you're putting on there. I imagine you had to get collateral built for that. So what did you probably had to go through, create banners, cards, things like that. How early did you start that process, and what did you end up selecting before the conference?
We started pretty early just because we went pretty detailed with, so we did some social proofing like flyers, so little A5s it had a quote from a customer from each industry. So we had, a construction customer, a B2B SaaS customer, a small business customer, a global enterprise customer, automation customer. So we had a snippet of a quote that they've said about Teamgate, and then on the back we had their actual use case, how they use Teamgate. So how do they do lead capture? How do they do?
So these were on like flashcards type thing?
Yeah, they're little A5 printouts that customers could take.
And for our American audience, I actually had to look up what we were talking about A5s a lot. We don't have in America, we don't have a standardized, it's either printer paper or non-printer paper. And so an A5 is essentially like printer paper that's folded in half. It's, about yay big. Just to put it in reference for all the American viewers.
We'll call those convict units.
Like a postcard. It was like a postcard
from Australia.
Convict postcard size. So yeah, we had those there. They had QR codes. They saved us a lot of business cards because people were taking them because they could access the QR code and the discount via the flyer. Obviously, we had business cards. We had our banners done up. So we actually found ourselves we went and found a cost-effective solution to get the banners made up. We obviously went on Xenon Shared Services to design them. And then we used the badges from our recent wins on Capterra and G2. A bit of social proofing there as well. So they were good conversation starters. It kept people busy whilst we were, if Chase and I were both engaged with prospects. People were walking around our booth, reading the A5s and reading the customer quotes and the use cases. We also had a video playing in the background we had a portable screen that was just on loop. It was about a 30-minute video on loop, just of the different features within Teamgate and benefits. So we're just trying to find ways to keep people busy whilst we were engaged so that we could, get to them once we finished our conversations. And I guess the other thing I probably didn't touch when we did all the planning of how we wanted the booth to look, but then once we actually got on the ground, we came up with a different view because we were like, oh, this is smaller than we thought. Like, we didn't have enough space for the golf.
Hey, whoa. Don't get into the conduct of the conference, mate. Come on.
I don't know where we're at, mate. I'm a little bit
Let's
lost.
keep to the segments, mate. Let's keep to the segments.
Sort it out, podcast host.
Bit of jet lag, mate. Bit of jet lag. So, all right, let's get into the conference conduct because I think that's where we're going to get a lot of the value and see a lot of the things that you started talking about then because I think it's just natural to want to get into that piece. But tell me, in the lead up, what would you change now looking back on, you've done the conference, you had your lead up, what would you change about the lead up and the things you did beforehand? Is there anything that you'd improve on?
I think the only thing we kind of left out was we didn't do much of a marketing push around just because I didn't know how to, right? I don't have a local presence in Austin. We didn't have a list of who was attending. So we had to pay for that list. So potentially I would have paid for that list and started, potentially outbounding people or just saying, hey, we're going to be at the conference. It'd be great to catch up and connect and have a conversation. But then at the same time, I don't know if we needed it. We got pretty lucky with our positioning of where our booth was that we ended up speaking to, I would say, 90% of the people that came through the conference. We had, they at least saw our booth. We might not have had conversations, but they were all sort of coming through our area. So yeah, potentially the only thing is around marketing push, and then the only other one I have is probably more related to the conduct of the conference. So I won't touch on that, Abe. I don't want to upset you.
I think the lead up, and
to add,
so go ahead, Chase.
We're talking about how our previous learnings from the conference that we attended earlier this year helped us better prepare. I think there were some assumptions that we brought over to this conference that we could have maybe reassessed. In the Startup Grind conference, it was, in the Silicon Valley, it was very tech forward. And because of that, we printed a bunch of business cards and we maybe handed out, I don't know, a half a dozen between all three of us. And
Yesterday we got smashed.
And yesterday, it was not a really tech-heavy attendee list.
Different ICP,
And
right?
different ICP.
Give me your business card.
Yeah, and I think at Dallas we probably will run out before the end of the day. At least for the business cards, I think our A5 posters might run us through, and we'll have some left over. But our business cards will absolutely be all.
We're going
all
to solve
taken
that. We've got a solution that we're going to implement before we get to Dallas.
Yes.
Oh, what's the solution, mate?
Well, it's
Cut 'em
about
in
the
two.
conduct. It's about the conduct. Can't talk about it yet. No. So the big thing was, and we're getting ahead of ourselves. But the big thing was a lot of people yesterday asked to book a demo. Like, how do we book a demo with you? Like now. Like how can we book a call with you? And on our business card we have our website and everything else, but basically we were directing them how to go to our website to book a demo. So I think the big learning for us is having a QR code with our Calendly link there for everyone to just scan and book a call immediately on the spot. Then you don't lose that opportunity for them to go away and book it.
You mentioned you had a screen. Why didn't you have something set up where you literally had Calendly open? It's like, and you could have like a book a call thing, right? Like, you know how when you go to walk into a busy restaurant, they've got like the iPad set up on a stand, and it's like book a table, and you can go and reserve your table, how many people you want, and they could go in there with Calendly and book a call.
That was, I think that was our original plan, was to have an iPad set up with a Google form, like a web form that pushed them through. But I think we could even have Calendly open, ready to book a call instead. Like the video was okay, but 9 times out of 10 people were like, "Oh, is this the system? I don't want to see this. I want to see, like, show me the platform." So I was like pulling my laptop out, doing an on-the-spot demo. So I think, getting rid of that screen and actually having the iPad there with either a web form or a Calendly link open to book the call is a good idea.
I think just put them in Calendly, right? And just get them to book. Like, just have one of you with the iPad even, and just walk around and be like, "Hey, you want to book a call? Sweet. Do it here."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to do some live workshopping, I think that'd be a good idea, because we had the iPad was powering the larger screen and we just had a looping video, but maybe tapping into one of our computers to power that screen and then having the iPad with the Calendly open on that same table. It also might alleviate, the question that you're getting about asking for a live demo. Well, why do a crash course in the middle of a conference when we could just schedule a call next week when we're both at home in our own environment, or back in the office in our own environment, and we can have a little bit more focus put towards this.
And then also, when you look at that as well, you could have, if I was in there and I was interested, but you were engaged with someone and they're a really chatty person and they're taking up a lot of your time, and I was like, man, I'm really interested in this, but also, like, I'm bored now. I want to go somewhere else. I'll just walk off, and the chances of me coming back may be pretty low. But if you have that iPad there, it's like, man, I'm really interested in this. I can just book a demo here. Sweet. And so I just book a demo and I walk off, and then you don't even know that I've booked a demo. Like, you will when you go back and check the calendar. But I think that's like, that could be a really cool thing about those people who may not want to talk, have time to talk. You might be engaged on the day, having that out there. But once again, getting ahead of ourselves. So talk to us about the conference. What, you went there the day before to set up. Did it meet your expectations? What did you think?
Yeah, I think it was a good space, large space. We are cheap, so we opted out of paying for power because it was about $800 a day to get power into your booth. So we went and
bought electricity bills.
Went and bought a $100 power bank, which kept us fine through the entire day. We also didn't pay for Wi-Fi, and when we arrived, we realized the venue itself, not the conference holder, the venue had free Wi-Fi, which was faster than the paid Wi-Fi, so we used that as well. But yeah, I think it did live up to the expectations.
Almost got you.
My concern was that they overpromised how many people would attend, but I think the amount of people was good. The traffic flow was really good. The location of our booth was really good. We got really lucky there that the booth next to us was doing free headshots, and that was included in the ticket for people to attend. So every single person that attended.
Oh, nice. So you got a massive amount of foot traffic just simply by being next to them.
Yeah. And it was also the foot traffic to go into the keynote speakers. They had to walk past our booth to get into the keynote speaker.
That's perfect.
So a lot of foot traffic. And then I think the biggest thing is we got there and we looked at the booth space and we're like, this is really small. And we looked at all the other booths and it felt very closed off because it was, 2 meter, I think it was 2 meters wide or 4 meters wide, but a table at the front, which completely closed off the booth. So the first thing we did was we got rid of the table and we just opened the booth right up. And then we actually got rid of our side barrier. So, the table became our side barrier. People could walk around the table whilst we played golf in the booth and sort of entertain themselves until we had a conversation with them. So, yeah, I think it all lived up to expectations. More space would be great. I hope we have a similar location in the next conference because we were able to open the booth up. But if not, I think we'll need to think about how we best use our space. But what do you reckon, Chase?
Yeah, and to put it for all of our audio listeners, I'm assuming you have at one point in time in your life watched The Office, and if you remember when they went to that Dunder Mifflin went to that conference.
Which one, the US or the UK version?
The US version, yeah. Although I'm assuming
we just have to clarify that.
They must have done something similar with the UK version, but that 10 by 10 booth with the single table in front. With the black curtains all around. I mean, that's what we were given.
Yeah.
And we made a decision almost instantly once we got there to remove one of the walls since we weren't actually backing up to another booth next to us. We removed one of the walls, replaced that wall with that table, which opened up the entire booth for us to stand, walk around, speak with people at eye level instead of sitting in front of a desk or sitting in front of a table looking up at people.
So you took the barrier out, essentially.
Yeah, we did. We deconstructed.
And all the seats. So we stood up the 10 hours that were there, however long we were there. We were standing the entire time, walking around, talking to people. Whereas, most of the other booths were all sitting behind a desk, waiting for people to approach.
You okay, Andrew?
My knees and legs were very sore. Chase's feet were more sore than mine. He wore the wrong shoes.
I was wearing like leather shoes with no insoles.
I was in Reeboks. So. I was good.
Yeah,
I was good.
It's character building.
Had them conference shoes on, ready to go.
Yeah, I'll get my Reeboks next time.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of perfect placement, because there's lots of free stuff that's around you that people want to come to. You analysed the booth and went, let's shape this to be what we want it to be instead of what it is, which I think is a really smart thing to do. And then let's talk about, you mentioned the spinning wheel and everyone had a spinning wheel. What did you guys do? You had 2 spinning wheels, right?
We had golf. So we had a golf competition. It was sticky golf. I purchased a sticky golf set online. So essentially, it's a bunch of targets that you have a golf club and 4 balls wrapped in Velcro, and each ball you can hit will either land on a target or it could land in a hazard, and you either gain points or lose points. So we had a competition with a running tally of the highest score of the day. And that high score of the day won our prize, which was a golden putter from Lucky Golf. So that got people pretty interested once they saw we had a big sign that had Teamgate Golf Tournament. A lot of people actually walked over, and whilst they were waiting for their headshots, they saw the golf sign and they were reading the golf sign before they even noticed what we did. And then they came over and we started.
They thought you were a golf company. They're like, it's Top Golf.
Texas, very competitive, very sport orientated. So we had a few debates around what sport we were going to do. We considered some NFL style throwing activities. We thought maybe that might detract some people. Yeah. Or it might knock some people out if you get some bad throwers.
Same thing with the darts. Potential hazard there.
So we went with golf. We were a little bit concerned that maybe some females wouldn't engage, and we were completely wrong. I would say they were the most keen to come over and have a hit. And one of them was the high score for the majority of the day, and she just got pipped right towards the end of the day. So unfortunate.
That'd suck.
And we saw her at the happy hour as well. She was very upset, very, very sad. She didn't win her golden putter. Never played golf a day in her life, but had some luck with the game.
How did you arrange for the golden putter to be delivered?
Yeah, good question. This is a sensitive topic right now.
I'm going to let Andrew take this one.
So I ordered 2 golden putters, one for each conference, and I had them sent to Chase's house because it was a lot cheaper for shipping because it's a US-based company.
What did you do, Chase?
Well, I was at the conference yesterday, and he goes, how are we going to do this? Do we tally the scores for both conferences and give it to the highest score for both conferences? I said, no, we got got 2 putters, one for each conference. He goes, only one came to my house. So yeah, we had to email the company last night and say, where's my other putter? Which they have now shipped.
So yeah, if you attended the conference in Austin or attending in Denver and listening to this, yes, we have your putter. It will be shipped to you. Yeah, we figured everything out. But yeah, no, I asked Andrew.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to like? Do you have the putter with you?
Yeah. We still
We've
have
got
the
one.
putter, yeah.
We've got one putter with us. The other putter is en route to Chase's house. So
yeah,
we've contacted the winner.
So you're giving the putter to the guy in Austin?
No, it'll go to Dallas.
We'll use it as the placeholder in Dallas as well, and then after
because you need it for the display item.
Yeah.
So I hope you totally just blamed Chase for that and was like,
100%.
yeah, you remember Chase that you met there? Yeah, he screwed it up.
Blame Chase.
Yeah, the look on Andrew's face was pretty.
I thought he was joking. I thought he was messing with me, and he's like, there was only one putter because I ordered myself a left-handed club as well. And he goes, just give away your club. I was like, no.
Andrew, don't tell everyone that you're left-handed, mate. Don't do that.
All the skilled people are left-handed.
Sure they are.
Yeah.
So they keep telling themselves anyway. How'd you go top golf, mate?
Abe, you're outnumbered here. This is 2 lefties versus 1 righty here. So
God.
Yeah.
Well, that's awkward. So you had golf, you had the golden putter. Massive hit. People loved it. No pun intended, which is great. And so did you find that having, that little golf set up, the interactions when they got into there, were they more concerned about the golf or more concerned about what you did?
I think it was a balance. So some came in wanting to play golf and were like, oh, it's going to cost you a business card. And then we'd start talking about what they do and what we do. But I'd say most came in talking about CRM. I think they saw the Salesforce tagline first and they came in and said, oh, well, what do you guys do? Like, are you guys a CRM as well? And then we started talking. And then, at the end of the conversation, they're like, oh, okay, so what's to go with this golf thing? And then they'd come and have a hit as well. So, we made it mandatory that we took their details before they were allowed to play golf. So either way, they're going into our marketing campaign or our drip campaign. But generally, the conversations were about CRM and if we could help each other before we got to the golf. So,
yeah. And I mean, CRM and conference etiquette, I mean, I don't think not to speak for both of us, but I don't think anyone turned away from the challenge once we asked for a business card. I mean, that's just, that's common etiquette for a conference. If you want to interact with, the booth or anything that we have in terms of incentives, obviously there's going to be an exchange of information, and that's just a given,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fair, and I think it's a good, like, you have something that people want to do, right? They're going to go and spin a wheel for a random prize. They're going to provide a business card for that. So why wouldn't they do it for a competition where they can win a golden putter and potentially have it shipped at some stage in the future once Chase sorts it out? But the other side of that is you've got a captured audience. You get them in there. You talk about golf. They start conversing about what their business is, what they do. Did you find that there was a lot of a fit for those people and what they were looking to achieve? Like, how many, when you look at the ICP and the people that attend there, the interactions that you had, were they like, I already have a CRM, I need one of these, I hate Salesforce, I want to come to you guys? Like, was there what was the feeling with that interaction as far as purchasing Teamgate? Was it the right conference?
Yeah, I'll take this one first. I think there were, not to paint with a wide brush, but for me, there were three main types of folks. There were folks that were part of larger corporations that really weren't our ICP, where, their boss 15 floors above them had chosen Salesforce and a whole host of other tools to actually help them do sales.
That's weird at a small business expo. Why are they even there?
Yeah. Well, I think they were there, and that ties into the second type of person that were there. They were kind of consultancies. So lots of people that were adjacent to our business talking with sales organizations or helping small businesses build sales organizations who get the question, what is a CRM? How do I use it? How can it help me all of the time? And they're looking to build up a book of referral partners in order to have a great answer for those folks when those questions arise. And then lastly, the third person was kind of, I guess, the more obvious person that we knew that we would talk to, those people that were running or working for and part owner of a small business that were at the stage of growth where they started to feel the pressure to have a great system to organize all of their client data and help them really build their business and scale it. And then folks who maybe had made that decision a little bit prematurely, or prematurely in their stage of business or within the search process, and didn't properly vet who they went forward with and just really went for maybe a cheaper option and were regretting it and feeling the pain of those. Cheaper probably isn't the right word, inadequate or oversimplified system.
Yeah. And I think to sort of break it down, I'd say, maybe 10% were on those big name CRMs working for the bigger organizations. And then the rest was split between like Google Sheets and CRMs we know we can beat. So it wasn't like we were there competing with HubSpot users or Salesforce users. It was generally, those people on those systems were a part of those higher organizations, and some of those people were trying to sell to us as well. But then you had most of the business owners that were there, the small business owners, were either on Google Sheets looking for a solution, or they had gone on maybe like a Go High Level. There was a lot of Go High Level users, and all of them hated it. So they were looking for another solution. So I'd say in regards to ICP, it was pretty bang on for us. I think it was the right target audience, the right conference. The conversations we had it wasn't anything like what we experienced in the Bay Area. It was all good conversations, and there was a handful that weren't a match that we would just send away with other recommendations. So
yeah, nice. I think that sounds like it was pretty good. Like, obviously, you're not going to get 100% of people being the target audience that you want, and that's absolutely fine. But it sounds like there was a decent amount of people there that were in your target area for what you wanted to do. Interesting to note that they already had some system in place, but often inadequate. Let's just focus down on that third group that you talked about, the people that had the Google Sheets, the inadequate CRM as opposed to everyone else. What insights did you gain from them? Do you feel like that from this conference you're able to say, I understand the ICP a lot more? Did you understand maybe there's like a feature gap or something that you do really well that they really want? What did you get?
I probably got two, and then I'll hand to Chase. One was a lot of people probably still don't know what a CRM can and can't do. So a lot of people would, one of the people that we turned away, they were looking for like payroll management and social media management, like in the same tool. And I'm like, like,
Yeah, right.
you're in the wrong space here. You're looking for the wrong thing. So there were some people like that, but not many. And then the other one that surprised me, I would say, is I had a lot of conversation, and it probably makes sense when you think about it. When you and I went into Teamgate, Abe, what was the main feature we were like, this is going to sell Teamgate? And then since then, we've probably been like, maybe not. Insights, right?
Insights.
You and I love it. You and I love it at our level, but we found generally the people that are coming and finding Teamgate and booking demos with us, it's all about like LinkedIn integration and things like that. And when we try to sell them on Insights, they're not really that interested. At the conference,
They don't care about what they've done. They care about what they want to do.
Exactly. And I'd say at the conference, 80% of the conversations I had were all around analytics. And it was because generally they're business owners. They got skin in the game. They want to know what's working and what's not. And I had a really good conversation with a gentleman who runs like a landscaping business. And he's like, first thing he says, like, it needs to have, like, do you have analytics or the ability to integrate with something that has analytics? So I said, yeah, we've got our own analytics. And he started talking about, I want to know conversion rates. I want to know marketing sources. And I said, yep, we can do all that. And he was sort of blown away. So I think that was the biggest surprise, was we kind of went away from it with our marketing around the analytics piece, because we just found every time we tried to sell it as like a differentiator, it wasn't really working. But I think the surprise coming out of the conference was these business owners and these small businesses where, it's a competitive market. I think they're now realizing that data is needed to drive their decisions and drive, their competitive advantage. So that was definitely a key theme for me yesterday with the conversation that I had. Do you have anything?
That's super interesting. I sorry, before you jump in, Chase, I just want to like hammer in on that, because we almost landed at this point where we're like, man, we're just having like this insular echo chamber moment where we care so much about insights, we care so much about analytics because it's important to us, but it doesn't seem like our customers give a shit. And that's like a really interesting proof point and value proposition. Be really interesting to put it into, understand how you can make it more compelling, utilizing their words to display that as well. And I think that's super interesting to me. And I would say that looking forward at it, how you target more of those landscaping businesses and stuff like that, like the more trade style businesses, to get on a CRM and use those analytics, because as you said, skin in the game, right?
Yeah. And that's I think that's the tough thing with this sort of ICP that we're exploring more, is a lot of these landscapers or more blue collar kind of, mom and pop shop style businesses often
Human interactions. They don't look at the web.
Well, and they're often very complacent too. And they're happy with their book of business that they have. It pays their bills. It, helps them put food on the table. And they're not really trying to go, mega mogul with their
global
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was, it's a very basic thing to say, and it sounds so rudimentary to put it into words like this, but, going to a conference, you really let the cream rise to the top. We have conversations with people all the time that just go, search CRM for my business on Google and then spend 30 minutes out of their week talking with me. But this was another like echelon, a higher tier of that type of motivated entrepreneur that was willing to take a whole day out of their week on Thursday to go and look for solutions that help them grow their business. And so we were just naturally talking with a more motivated and more often than not, a more educated buyer that was already a part of that, in many ways, niche ICP that we're trying to target with this push.
And I also find that a conference brings out a good spirit in people. They're a good sport. Like they want to go and play golf. It's a fun day out. They're out of the office. They're doing something different. The people around them are all engaged entrepreneurs, and there's like this energy towards making things better. And they really, care about that. And I think that's a key part.
Yeah. Yeah. I think probably the biggest event there was the networking, the speed networking.
Yeah.
The whole day, every 10 minutes, you just heard this gong go off. And then you'd see a whole, probably, what would you say, like a quarter or a fifth of the attendees at any given point in time were sitting down, trying to have real conversations with other business owners and just learn. So kind of going back to my quote of the day. People that were just really curious and really willing to put themselves out there and say, hey, I don't know this. I want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
And that's probably another learning, Abe, is we didn't have an opportunity to partake in like the speed dating or any of that like industry meetup stuff, because the two of us were just constantly in conversations throughout the whole day. So I think if possible, we probably would have brought another person to jump in and do that speed date, or just have another hand. Like we didn't eat all day, right? Like we didn't have lunch. We were there for 10 hours just having conversations. Like we didn't have a single break. And we didn't have the capacity to go and attend those speed dating things. So obviously, if we can, bringing a third member, whether it's Avis or someone
have a floater.
US-based, have a floater that can, replace us so we can grab some food or man the booth while we go and engage in the speed dating and things like that.
Yeah, I think you just do that, right? You just have desert. I think 2 people in a booth is necessary. I think anything less than that, and you're not really doing the right thing. But I think having like a 3-person team, it's like, all right, for the next 3 hours, Chase, you're going to do this. You go and roam and see who you can talk to. Find the people who aren't coming to our booth, or the people you had great conversations with. Go follow up with them, and then you switch out Andrew for the next 3 hours. Like grab a feed, grab a drink, go to the toilet, go chase, those leads, go do some events that are coming up. And then you just split it up like that. I think that's a really good learning point.
Yeah. And I mean, and reflecting on kind of the three types of people that I was talking about earlier, that might have been that first group. People that were a part of a large organization that had paid to be there as an exhibitor, that were really just kind of floating around and getting a feel for the room. And that could have been a large contributor to that first group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you talk to these people, you start to understand a few things. Like in the US especially, very interesting times with the election that's just taken place. I mean, we're not going to comment on that, but the election that's just taken place, there's a whole heap of change, like, inflationary pressures, all these other pressures that are coming in the US. Did you find any particular, were you able to identify any particular trends or shifts in the people that you were talking to, as far as like, were they willing to spend more money? Did they want to spend less? Are they interested in more value for money? What's their big driver?
I think what was most, we sort of confirmed it, is a lot of people don't like the big name CRMs. Like, it's all they see. And 90% of the people that came up to us, the first thing they said to us is, never heard of Teamgate CRM. And we were like, yep. And that was like the challenge we had to overcome. And we just threw back at them. That's because we don't spend millions of dollars advertising. We can't compete with HubSpot and Salesforce advertising to fill up your news feed. We'd rather put that money back into the product and make it as good as possible, and put the money into people like Chase, who can, provide a better service. So yeah, I think that was a theme, was I think some people were definitely willing
Building
to spend
trust,
money,
right?
but they want a good
trust
service.
is a big thing.
Yeah, they want a service that they can trust. And a really good thing, a lot of people came up to us and said, oh, well, what makes you better than Salesforce, or what makes you better than another CRM? And the first question I fired at them was, how long does it take you to get them on the phone? And they just laughed. And they're like some of them were like, oh, we can't get them on the phone, or, days or weeks. And I said, if you are using Teamgate, Chase and our team have a 5-minute policy. Like, they should be on a call with you within 5 minutes. And they didn't believe, like, they were blown away by that. I think people are willing to spend money, obviously, if they can cut costs where they can cut costs, but they're willing to spend money if they've got a good service. And I don't think a lot of people are getting a good service with some of our competitors.
I think that's super important in that small business space, right? Because they have a problem, they need it solved now. They can't, like, it's their neck on the line, right? It's
like every day,
mortgage payment, it's their business, it's on the line.
Every day that it's down for a big company might be whatever, but if you're a small business struggling to survive, you need answers, and you need them fast, right? So, yeah.
What about you, Chase?
I think that's a great question. Anyone that is listening to this in tech, in sales, really needs to, if they're not already, be connected with the political and economic climate, and be really connected to what the forecasts are saying, because that is going to affect how much money you make more than anything else, other than constantly evolving your skills. And there's that thought that, you can't really change the tides, you can only adjust your sails. But you absolutely have to be connected to the tides as well in this business. And for such a great question, I wish I had a better answer, because I really didn't. I'm sorry. I really didn't get a great feel for people's outlook yesterday. And that I'm not sure why that is. I can only speculate, but it could, Occam's razor for me says that it's possibly because the larger corporations are really connected to tides and try to have things priced in before they're already in effect. But I think small businesses,
more reactive,
rightfully so, are more reactive. Yeah. And so we really didn't get I didn't get a great feel yesterday for what, is happening in this country and in this world right now, is how that's affecting people's bottom line and affecting their buying decisions, more importantly, for us.
No, that's fair. And also, like, I think there's a lot of period now where people just don't know either. And I think that's an important point as well, is that people are just going to continue on, especially in the small business space. It's like, yeah, it happened, but we're just going to continue on and do what we need to do, right, to survive. And maybe they don't consider it until they need to make a fundamental shift, which is fine, right, as well. But I just thought it'd be interesting to see if there was any sort of trend that popped up there. But I think, trust is a big one that people need to get past in a lot of ways. And then you mentioned 10 hours of just like standing on your feet, talking to people, conversations over and over again, probably, repeating the same things consistently throughout the day. It must be really tough to make, proper meaningful connections, or, develop those partnership opportunities. How did you go with that yesterday? Did you manage to make some meaningful connections with prospects, any potential partners, things like that? Like, how did
I think it went well. I think time will tell. I think we put out about 70 odd business cards each, and they were entirely gone. A lot of our flyers were gone. But then from on our own side, and probably something we need to do better, but getting their details so we can follow up with them rather than waiting for them to reach out to us. We ended up with 35 hot leads. So in the system, already started outreach.
Yeah, it's a great market. Hey, it's a good ICP test, right? Outbound to small business consultants. 2 Aussies. You're over in Texas meeting Aussies. Good work, mate. Nice. Told some worries. Said that, yeah, nice. Chase, what about you? I think it'd be really cool to find like a voice note taker that does like a voice transcription. So you'd be like, hey, I was talking to Andrew Martin. He's a jerk. He doesn't want to spend money. He's a tight ass. And he's interested in analytics. So you should have a business card scanner in your CRM, mate. Yeah, we can continue with the wish list for the Teamgate mobile app. It's just like anything. You can build anything, but it just takes time and resources. So we already talked about, standing out for new exhibitors. Is there anything else you want to add to, you had the golf, you had an Australian, you two look like brothers, so that sort of stands out to people as they come past. Is there anything else that you changed the booth layout? Is there anything else that, Andrew's got a 5 head, Chase doesn't, but is there anything else that sort of stands out to you about how you stood out from the crowd as exhibitors at a conference? Did you have to go back to your room and like stare at a blank wall for 30 minutes, mate? Yeah. Oh, really? What? So she had a small business on the side. Man, things are wild out there. Cut the alcohol out of your wine. Put THC in there, baby. That's the future. This is the future. And then you mentioned the happy hour afterward. Was that the only network event that you went to? Yeah. Was it massive attendance? Did you find that like a fair few people went to that, or was it pretty light on? Yeah. Okay. Man, where that's where all the deals are done. All the deals are done in the bar. Yeah, nice. How was the networking event? You mentioned that you walked past a group that were talking about you, so you went and joined them. How was that? Talk about Bry and Bint. Oh, was it a Biltong? Allows you to get more human, right? So I found that when I went to a conference in the UK, like one of the biggest things was at the pub afterwards, chatting to people there and having conversations, having meaningful discussions about things, and like that's where partnerships and some sales sort of really kicked off, especially between the exhibitors, to get that understanding of each other and what you're looking to do and how you can work together. So yeah, I definitely think going to those networking events afterwards is you want to maximize, right? That's the way to do it. Small business consultants. You could have picked Charlotte up some nice jewelry, mate. Yeah, nice. That's good. And then to switch gears, I know, Andrew, you got to go and clean some jocks, so I want to give you time to get that done. Yeah, perfect. That's what you got your head of sales for, mate. Cleaning your jocks. So after the conference, have you followed up with anyone yet? Strike them while the iron's hot, while the kettle's boiling, get on there, give it a go. Have you sent some follow-ups, called some people? What's going on? Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Glad to hear. And decent responses from people so far? Like you got a few LinkedIn connections? Have you had any emails back? Anything like that? Mate, your inbox will be flooded after the podcast. Sure of it. Yeah, nice. That's awesome. And then the last question I had is, you're there in Austin. Have you visited the Comedy Mothership yet? What's going on? Damn. What are you doing? Tell us about the Texan events. I want to hear. Give us the experience, mate. Nah. If it was like with shotguns or something, maybe, but that's good. Who are you going for? Where are you, Chase? Shut up, Chase. Scabs. That's good, mate. Have you heard of Teamgate CRM, mate? Do you need a CRM for your tailgate? Yeah, take your A5 leaflets, mate. Just confuse them with the size of it. Like, what is this? This is like print paper in half. This looks weird. No, but that's good. Yeah, exactly it. But that sounds good. So I guess the key things there is find a conference that fits your ICP, and maybe it's best to attend a few just to understand if it's worthwhile getting a booth, because it is an investment. When you do get a booth, figure out a way to stand out. So look at what everyone else is doing and figure out how you can get a way to not be, a black cross and, how not just to be another black cross, like try and be a red circle. I think Josh Braun uses that, stand out, be a red circle in a sea of black crosses. And then the third bit there is be human in your interactions throughout the day and try and establish those connections so that when you follow up, it makes life a lot easier. So I mean, those are really cool learnings out of the conference, and it sounds like pretty successful so far. Interested to hear how Dallas goes. And, for those who are listening, I just told Andrew when he's like, what are we doing for the podcast? I said, I'm just going to pepper you with questions and see what you come out with. So that's what we did today. And really, it was just about trying to get that information while it's fresh in the mind and use the opportunity to get Chase on the podcast as well. I asked for Chase to sit on Andrew's lap during the podcast, but he said that the furthest he'll go is put his legs on Andrew's lap. So, but I think, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Chase and Andrew is really great. And Andrew, do you want to wrap it up, or do you want me to? You've been doing the wrap-ups lately. I've been enjoying it. All right, like and subscribe to all of our socials at Beers and Business Pod, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. If Andrew ever gets around to posting some shorts on TikTok, that'd be great. Submit your questions, topics, guests you'd like to see. If you want to see more of Chase, let us know. Andrew's long-lost brother from the US. And we'll find the podcast weekly on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And episodes are released every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Get around it. All right. How's that, Max? Hey, one thing we didn't actually cover off on, Andrew, is Chase, how are your beers, mate? Like, how are they? Good or terrible or... Yeah, I've got myself the Zytho. She's good to go. Velvet Lux Stout. Very luxe. All right. Cheers, everyone. And we'll catch you next Tuesday.